All right, today we've got Jonathan Jones with us. And Jonathan, at this point in your music career, I don't know if you feel like you are most known for a particular band or maybe your solo stuff or whatnot, but I remember you initially being in Waking Ashland, and then I've followed your music career since then. But I first was introduced to your music through Waking Ashland, so obviously we'll want to talk about that and all the other parts of your music career. But yeah, how are you doing today? Let's first off start out with that.
I'm really good. How you guys?
We're living the dream,
well.
as every Midwestern dad says when they are asked how they're doing.
What's the weather?
In paradise.
The cold right now?
Actually, I think tomorrow's supposed to be 70 degrees here in Minnesota. What's it supposed to be in South Dakota, Cullen?
Today was a record high. We hit 71.
71.
Ooh.
So, yeah, what is it?
Global warming's real, guys.
Yeah,
we
what is it in
that.
California, Jonathan?
75.
Okay.
Are you concerned about the impending flooding that they keep talking about?
I am. I got lucky. The last flood, actually 3 miles from my house, the 78 major highway flooded, and so that was kind of gnarly. But a little concerned. Yeah, it seems like it's going in the direction of more and more rain. Flooding. We're not ready for it the way it's SoCal is kind of made.
Yeah.
Right. Is your home like high enough where you're a little bit higher in elevation where you don't have to worry so much as those who are obviously lower in elevation?
Yeah, thankfully so. We're on a hill.
Don't have to deal with that flood insurance stuff.
Thank God.
But I took a walk today. I worked on what did I work on this morning? A song called Punk Rock Blues for a local artist, Johnny Rocker.
Oh. Are you producing now? Is that kind of like part of your stuff that you do?
Yeah. Like after, well, I guess we can circle back or go wherever. But after the band years kind of ended, that was like the next logical place was mixing. I kind of fell in love of mixing through working on some licensing stuff with Dan Koch that we did.
Oh yeah, sweet.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah,
lovely.
Beautiful.
So you've just been kind of doing producing stuff since all the band years.
Yeah, since the band years. I mean, that's when it started because, I was in a studio from a young age at like 15, I think is when my first record from Inside Out. There's an old band called Inside Out. And
is that on Spotify by any chance?
No, it can't be. But people have it.
Like legally can't be, or you like are too embarrassed for it to be?
Yeah. There's a song called Superhero on it, and like I don't know, like 1 in a Million's on it, like weird 14-year-old thoughts. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I'm all about
that. Yeah, I am too.
That needs to be out in the world. I'm sorry, but it just does.
It does need to. Someone to rip that to YouTube, please.
Somebody's out there has to have it like on a CD or something.
People have it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's out there. And then Formula 3, while we're talking about old bands, there was, prior to Waking Ashland, there was Formula 316.
Formula 316.
Yeah, I had to get the verse in there.
Yeah. I love how all those bands from that era had a number.
Well, somewhere. Because we had to, because of Blink.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's exactly.
Especially a California band, like every California band had to have some sort of number in it.
Yeah. So I missed out on so you remember the phase, of course.
Oh yeah. The Kinks, the Strokes.
Yeah. Cullen and I's favorite band is called The Chariot. They were on Solid State. So just all the. Actually, I still think there's like a lot of those band names didn't really. I don't think they
age
well. That's what I'm looking for. They didn't really age well. I do think a lot of those the name ones do age pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
They can. They're a little more timeless
generally.
That's just because of the Beatles, though.
Yeah, it's not fair. The Beatles got first crack at all the good stuff. With those too, they wrote all the good songs, and then they even took the.
That's right.
The funny thing is, Formula 316 is not even the worst band name out of all the bands that you've had. I think Jonathan Jones might be the worst band name I've ever heard.
I agree. It gets a little stale and white.
Well, that's something that Mason and I talk about all the time. Is like we get really tired of when artists just use their own names.
Yeah, I think I do it out of laziness. Well,
yeah, well, that makes total sense. But you've also created a career beforehand, so it makes a little more sense for someone like yourself.
yeah, but it's funny we're talking about this because there's been times where I wish I had more of a moniker, but I was never able to settle on one. So I released I released an album when was it? Like last summer, and a solo album, and it just was under my name because that's how it is.
Yeah, because how do you decide on a moniker, right? I mean, it's got to be really good if you're going to do it.
Yeah, like I mean, the guy that I worked for this morning, his moniker is Johnny Rocker. That's pretty cool.
That's a good
That's
one.
a great
That's
name.
a fun one.
Yeah. He took it though, so I mean, I can't take that one now.
I should do like Jones Rocker or something.
Brilliant.
Jonesy Rocker. So, well, let's talk about just, how did you get into music in general? We don't have to go all that on Inside Out because clearly there's some trauma that you're still working through on that. But just generally, how did you get into music? Did you start playing piano and playing guitar when you were like, were you one of those kids that were just like, that's what I want to do early on? Or I'm just curious what inspired you to start playing music to begin with?
I tried guitar when I was 5 and I couldn't do it. Like my mind couldn't understand the strings, and my mom found me one night crying in my bed, and she's like, why are you crying? And I was just so upset because I didn't want to do guitar. So then she's like, well, let's try piano. And so that kind of started it all, and that clicked. Twinkle Twinkle Little Star was like happening. I was like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. This is a song.
That's right.
And then it was like a classic. I had a Russian piano teacher, so did kind of the classical training for like a decade.
Oh my
and
goodness.
then and that was actually, it holds up well looking back, but at the time it was like, because I was a surfer kid, so like I'd want to be out there for the swell, but then I'd have to go to piano lesson and then practice. Sometimes when the waves are good, I'd need to practice. So that was
you want to be shredding gnar, but instead you got to be learning Tchaikovsky instead.
Yeah. But then it was kind of like what happened? It was just the whole, I'm way more into the band than the other guys. So then high school band takes its course, and then I studied music at Cal State Northridge for a few years, and that's where I met Ryan Lawyer, who I started Waking Ashland with. And so that was kind of it was cool. I mean, we clicked, and then it was like one of those moments where you're so young you don't realize it, but it was special enough where we were writing songs like really fast, and then we just left school, or like I think 6 months later we finished out like the semester. Sorry.
I would say he did it right, because the first thing you got to do is, if you want to be in a band, is you got to find someone with piercing blue eyes and a great head of hair. And that's a virtuoso on an instrument. And then you're going to be solid. You're going to be golden, especially in the time of the Coldplays of the world and stuff like that. Right.
Yeah. That was the era for sure. No. And it's funny you say that, because he liked, it was kind of like that first moment where he really liked that I could play the piano, because he was really good at guitar, but at that point he didn't play any keyboards. And so it clicked. But yeah, it was funny because he was in the jean jacket kind of indie kid. He's from Boston, that back there. So it was like West Coast, East Coast, comes together, and it was cool. Yeah. And that kind of just started us down. And let's see, I mean, so I could go many places with that. Help focus me.
Well, I do like this kind of, you mentioned this really quick, Cullen, about like, it's kind of this era of, there's this piano driven rock and pop music that's going on at that time. And obviously, I would say, maybe Coldplay kind of spearheaded that, like, oh, you can do this very piano centric kind of music that really has these poppy elements that are, really enjoyable and catchy and earwormy and that kind of thing. did you listen to any of those bands that kind of like gave you this sense of like, oh, I've got this talent on piano, and like I can create that kind of sound of my own version of it? Or was it sort of like, or I really like this music, and I don't really know where I fit, because like my thing that I really do well is piano. Like, did you feel like there was like, where you were at odds at all the time, where you were like, I want to do rock stuff, but like my only instrument is piano? Or I'm just curious like what that relationship was, given like what was in the landscape of music at the time.
Yeah, good question. I found myself playing the piano like a guitar at a
Mm.
pretty young age because I loved all the guitar heavy music. Actually, I didn't listen to a ton of piano players. It was more of like I just love like what you guys grew up on. I loved all the loud guitars, and so it was kind of like making shapes, playing the piano in a way that kind of how a voicing of a guitar would work is what it ended up kind of being for me. Yeah, I would play the piano like with the aggression of how I'd want what I'd want the guitar to do in the song. And so it was cool to finally meet someone who kind of could translate like, oh, he's doing that. The language is I need to do like eighth notes on a guitar. And so it was like a shorthand that Waking Ashland was able to build. And it featured the piano, but I think that's kind of what made our early stuff, unique to us, was that it was the way the piano and the guitars would blend,
Mm.
and it was just cool. It was like a sound. You'd play, and it'd be like the voicings would all just kind of have this pop, kind of big pop rock sound.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about that is if it feels like such a huge sound that it's not replicated very often anymore. But at that time, it was really starting to come into its own. What Waking Ashland did really great was you guys added a little bit more distortion than what a lot of other bands were doing,
Mm.
at least for my listening ear. And so it felt even bigger on like choruses and stuff like that. I mean, it was really energetic.
Yeah, like thank you. A lot of that credit I would say was from Lou Giordano. He was a producer, and I think we were really fortunate to work with him because he saw like what the sound could be, and he was able to expand it. And then, I mean, Ryan was just so good with tone; it was like quite a good match. But like all thanks to Tooth and Nail for being like it was a good situation because they put us like with the right people in a great. It was back when we were right at the tail end, so the budget was reasonable where we could be in just an outstanding sounding room. We recorded out in Hoboken at Water Music. I hope it's still there. It might it might be. But sorry, Mason, to come full circle about the kind of the way it was hard for me like to use the piano in an aggressive way. I wish I could go back because now it's funny now as a producer mixer, like I see what I was trying to do with the piano, but it was it was just one snapshot of it kind of.
Mhm.
Sure.
Because I didn't even know like you could distort pianos, but that hadn't even crossed my 21-year-old mind.
It's interesting like how many other bands kind of popped up around that time that also had a very like piano centric, or like had a focus on the piano, at least in a lot of their music. Cullen and I grew up with like Copeland. We're big fans of Copeland. Like obviously Copeland had a lot of that, especially early on. The Rocket Summer was a band that I listened to quite a bit. So and they were kind of in that orbit of like Christian adjacent, like Tooth and Nail adjacent stuff. And so there's like a number of other bands like that. And then even just like from the mainstream world, like there was a lot of that. Like I still think of like Vanessa Carlton's song is like still like maybe one of the most iconic songs of the last 25 years. And again, a very like piano pop song. And so there was like, it was just like you guys came around right at this time where there was this like piano pop rock thing that was happening, and it's like interesting to like know that like it didn't feel like you really had any predecessors to like base that off of. Like you just sort of were like, I really like punk music, but like I'm really damn good at the piano. Let's see if we can try to make this happen. And you all kind of happened, like you all just kind of did it at the same time, and there was a ton of them that were doing it at the
There
same time. It's
was.
really interesting.
No, and to add to that, I mean, something corporate was happening around that time,
Right, which they just
and
announced today that they're like getting back together. Did you see that?
I just saw that. Yeah.
no, I didn't see that. That's super
Yeah, they're
cool.
getting back together for
We,
like a nationwide tour. That and yeah, I meant to, like I forgot to mention like Jack's Mannequin is like another one of those bands where I'm like, but they came well, yeah, obviously something corporate started before you guys, but like Jack's Mannequin like is another one of those bands where I'm like so piano forward and like making such great rock music.
Mhm.
really good rock music. His records, I was listening back to kind of all his discography, and they hold up pretty well. They're fun. They sound
Very
great.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they still have like that energy, which is awesome. Oh, you had mentioned Rocket Summer. Funny quick story. This summer, my wife and I, with our family, we went on a cruise to Alaska, and I remember on the first day of the cruise, kind of just walking around, and there was this lounge area, and piano player was playing. And I kind of, as I'm watching the piano player, he's singing, and then across the room, my eye catches this other guy, and I'm like, nah, that's not Bryce. And then I didn't think anything of it because I'm like, that's not Bryce. And then I like thought about the Rocket Summer, and then like 2 days later, we're going down this narrow hallway, and we we have this moment where we both look at each other, and then we pass each other, but then we like both back up and are like, "Hey!" So it was Bryce, and we he was just happened
Wow.
to be yeah, he happened to be on. What are the chances on the Alaska random cruise we were on?
That's wild.
That's so funny.
Uh, one side thing that I always have to ask people who are piano first people, just because it seems like your brains work a little bit differently than a lot of people's. How big of a fan of Jacob Collier are you?
Oh, uh, I know, like just from Instagram and like everyone I know of him, and I've seen him, but I haven't done the deep dive. But of everything I've seen, I'm a fan. I mean, the guy's a virtuoso, and I've seen where he like
Yeah,
directs these large
crowds and
audiences,
stuff.
and then
Yeah,
he's so musical. I mean, it's like everything that guy does, it's like music is just like spilling out of him. That's my
yeah,
perception of him. It just he's good.
that's
He's
cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he's piano. I mean, he's like I think Quincy took him under, right? His wing.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
he's a
Quincy Jones,
yeah, Quincy protege.
as well as Herbie Hancock too. So those
Okay.
guys hang out all the time. Yeah.
Well, okay. Speaking of like kind of piano, here's a thought lately that's been going through my mind. I've been playing a lot more piano lately. I think partly because I'm looking to kind of dabble back in the live circuit, like a few weeks out of the year, nothing too much, just more to keep up with friends and stuff.
Yeah.
But when I was younger and writing songs, I would just play, and I was like almost afraid to listen to other people for fear, I think, of like not stacking up properly.
Yeah.
And so I would like hear the song, but I wouldn't want to hear it too much, almost like it would influence me badly. So that's like it doesn't hold up. That's backwards. So what I lately, like maybe a couple of years ago, I started playing to records, and it was like this crazy moment where I was like, oh, like 20 years ago, I should have been playing the records, because it's been like, it's really fun. It's like the new, it's really fun to play to records. Like it's like everyone's done it for forever, but I'm like was late to that game, and that's had on my playing now, like, and producing, mixing, and everything. The biggest impact is just, when I was younger, I'd have the headphones on listening to all the bands, and now it's cool. I'm an older dude now that I can put the headphones on and play to anything, and that's like the richness of that. It's like a deeper level of interacting with these records that I've grown up with, and I'm
Mm.
finally learning them, and it's been cool as a piano player, because it's right. I don't know if you guys heard, like when people talk like with the piano, it's all laid out right there. So you can kind of use your imagination, and if you hear a cello part, I mean, you can kind of see where it would be. And so I've been trying to lean into that uh, more and more.
Do you ever find
That's wild.
yourself playing any Waking Ashland stuff? I mean, it's interesting. Like at this point, it's almost 20 years since you released like your guys' first full length, and it'll be a number of years, or still a few more years before it's the 20 years for the well. But yeah, I mean, it's been some time. Like, do you feel like a sense of nostalgia for it, where maybe you feel like disconnected from it enough at this point, where you're like, it's kind of fun to mess around with like this stuff that I ended up making 20 or almost 20 years ago?
Yeah, it's kind of gone full circle. So like there was a period where I wanted nothing to do with any of that, and I tried to run from that, and that actually turned out to be kind of unhealthy. You know, you can't run from kind of who you are. And I didn't really want to avoid those years. And then now, as I've been playing the songs again, or I played the songs all for the last 20 years, and it's like, it's funny how there's seasons where there's been times where I'll go down a dark pathway in my head of like, wow, am I really playing this I'm for you right now again? Um, but then I've been able to arrive at a place where it's almost every time I play it, um, I'm able to find a new angle, and it's a new performance, and the just the subtleties, and then trying to, even the perfectionist in me trying to sing it like, well, how many notes can I get right, like hit in this live performance? You know, can I get that falsetto? Can I do something else with that falsetto? So there's like, I kind of look at it more now as like just an endless lifelong conversation with songs I wrote a long time ago, that I got lucky enough because of like what you were saying, Mason, about the it just happened to be when that composure broke. It just happened to be a time and culture where people were just like super into pianos. Because I remember um, at the height of that, like people just loved the piano. It was like this, even though it'd been around, but our kind of age range and younger, it was like they were just discovering what the piano could be. We
Hmm.
all were. And
Mm.
so it was like this fascination with piano and rock. And we happened just to get lucky and kind of be there. But sorry, I'm everywhere. But basically, it's like I do actually like, I've come full circle, and the songs mean a lot to me. They mean, it's funny how some of them mean completely different things in my journey, and some of them I'm able to actually see a little deeper of what I was trying to say, and it can like, it's an interesting thought process that happens. They're like, yeah, they're total weird older children now. Some of them aged okay, some of them didn't age very well.
Well, Cullen and I
Well,
are the two older children that
speaking,
have not aged okay, by the way, at
that's
least in
that's
our
Yeah.
true. That's
experience.
true. Speaking of things that like didn't age super well, I mean, you guys like started your big push on MySpace. So I think that that's like a really interesting moment in time. Do you want to kind of tell us about how like MySpace and Pure Volume and stuff like that kind of blew you guys up? Because I think for a band that only had a couple records out, I mean, you guys hit big. I mean, you guys still have a lot of listens on all the streaming platforms and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. Those were the two, MySpace and Pure Volume. Pure Volume was actually first because that was all the rage. That's why we dropped out of school, and it was like my first taste. I remember it clearly because it was like we had this song we put up on our first EP that was "Counting the Stars." It was like this very just immature, fun song, and and it just like people loved it. And there was like a "Do Do Do" song. I'm trying "Politics of Life." It was like this first EP of Waking Ashland EP. Um, and it was the first time for me that I had seen, you know, through the internet, people just like from all over the country and world like responding to this. I'm like, whoa, like it just, it felt, I'd never experienced anything like it. And so that like was very, and that was like a grassroots inspiring for me, and it became like a pathway. I saw that as just the job. It was like the mindset every day. This is what I tell this to younger artists that I work with now, but like the goal was you wake up and how can I get more listeners? How can I go hustle my music to anyone? And how can I respond to any sort of person that cares? Like they need to be recognized and thanked or like, or like appreciated. And so that became like, that was pure volume. And then when we discovered MySpace, when I discovered that MySpace, like people could write messages in the inbox, that was even like pure volume on steroids. And we were just, that whole top 8 thing, it was funny because that really meant a lot. And I feel it's kind of slimy, or like not slimy, but it's like the culture was to really maneuver yourself into someone's top 8. And so it was, I haven't thought of MySpace or Pure Volume so long, but there was such a culture along with it. I don't think if those platforms weren't there, no way the band doesn't get signed or anything. Because we were able to hop on our first Warped tour back in 2004 because of Pure Volume. Pure Volume gave up. I remember being in like Indiana or like Indianapolis, and people just being really excited to see Waking Ashland, and this was like huge for me. Like I mean I couldn't, because it, like the thought of just people from random places, it made me so happy. I guess I'm just trying to show the age of like, it felt like I feel a little bit out of touch now with like the culture of social media. I find myself not, or like if I was doing a band now, like a real band, like, oof, I don't know. Maybe I'd go to you. Maybe I'd go to you guys. I'd be like, can you guys help me do a band?
No, we cannot.
No, you seem like you seem like you have a really cool podcast though. So it's like, I listened. It is. Well, I listened to a little bit before I got on to, I checked out too. I caught a little bit of Damar's. I plan on listening to it all, but it was cool because I knew Damar from back in the day. I remember playing Phoenix with him, and it was the first time where they would get off stage, and it was the first time I heard "Hey There, Delilah," and like it was this energy where this was 2004, I think, or 5. Yeah, 5 maybe. No, 2005. And so the band would leave, and then Tom, like the crowd, the energy of these girls in front would just like swell. And then he would start playing. Yeah, I'm getting like goosebumps now talking about it. And like, I should have known, but I didn't even make the connection. Like, and so, but it was already huge then, like that song. And so it was just funny. I had like really big nostalgia listening to Damar talk. Like I just had a whole bunch of memories like that come back.
I do,
but then like
that interview is so funny because he was just like, he feels like so nonchalant about it. Like, yeah, I guess this song's like got almost a billion billion plays on Spotify. I was like, well, it is what it is. That was a part of my life, I guess. He's just like,
yeah,
this is a big deal, dude.
That's how he's always been. Like he's cool.
Yeah.
Well, so I'd love to hear just kind of the end of Waking Ashland. I want to kind of put a little bit of a flip the page to the next thing. So, but before we do that, I'd love to just hear just kind of the end, because it felt like it was so abrupt. You guys released The Well, and then it was like a few months later you announced the breakup. And so, did you feel like even going into The Well that like the writing was on the wall, like that there was going to be a new chapter for you all? I'm just curious about like what was that breakup, because I don't know like how much there is out publicly now about like what happened exactly. I'd love to hear just a little bit more about that.
And also tell us how it was all Dan Koch's fault, please.
Yeah, Dan, it was definitely Dan's involved. No, I'm just joking. Dan wasn't involved. But let's see. Okay, so yeah, I mean it's a sad story. I mean it's sad. It's basically like, we were such road warriors. Like I think I counted, and at our peak we were playing like 250 shows. So we were just we were, and that was for like 3 years. We pretty close, maybe 200, 250, a lot of shows. And so it was just from I can only speak from my perspective, of course, but for me it was I just didn't quite know yet who I was, and I was kind of like it was confusing because we were doing pretty well as a band, and I think definitely let some of that go to my head, being a front man, um, and it just kind of the weariness of the road wore us out, and I think I was so focused on wanting to make it, whatever that means, that I was very tunnel vision to that goal at all costs, and forgetting that we're all human, and it's like we need to take care of each other and have like treat people like they're not like mm, there's more to people than music, right? And that's I get really passionate about music, and that's always been hard for me to I forget that, and then to remember as I've gotten older a lot better, but that was the main reason. And I think I'm forgetting a key part. Let's see. And it was okay. So that was kind of the emotional aspect of it. And then the nuts and bolts were that our sound, Ryan and I were kind of going in divergent ways, and it was hard to communicate. We weren't communicating about kind of the band we wanted to be. And The Well's actually one of my favorites, or like I really like that record, but we made like the record label choice. We should have stayed on, in my opinion, we should have stayed on Tooth and Nail. They offered us a stupid good deal that we turned down. But that was also because, the idea of, being, I was Christian, Ryan was not Christian, or like a organized religion, Christian kind of thing. He wasn't, I don't think he'd consider himself Christian, but it was, I see now from his vantage point, people coming up to him wanting to talk about the Lord, Jesus Christ. And it's like, yeah, maybe like, or it's just a weird, that's private no matter what. Like, if someone's just coming up to me and was asking me all this stuff, it would be a little weird that, I grew up Methodist, a little more on the liberal side of it, of the spectrum, but that's what broke us up was like, it finally got to us because it was like the gray area of, are we a Christian band? Or are we not a Christian band? And we were not a Christian band. I was writing songs very inspired by my faith, um, in that time of life, but I didn't want to be a Christian band. So, but then it was like, it was told that it was okay that we weren't a like Christian band. It was this whole like, I mean, I know you guys have heard this story a million times, like aspects of it, but we fell right into that whole era. And we weren't, as some other bands were able to navigate it a little better. It just caught up with us. And so, that was the breakup, but I do shoulder a lot of it. I just wasn't ready. Like it was just so hard to, I just wasn't there quite yet. Knowing now, it's like, when you're making records, those kind of records, special records, you need to, it is a family, and it's like you can't take, you got to listen to people. You just got to be open to any idea, like any idea, even, just try it. It's cool. Talk about it. Like that's the fun, the journey of that. But I wasn't able to do that. And so it was inevitable. But do you guys know what, sorry, go for it, Cullen.
Going along with what you had said there, that you felt like some of it was starting to go to your head a little bit. And I think this is something that is often alluded to, but it's never talked about in any detail at all. And it seemed like you're relatively open about it because you seem like you're comfortable with who you are now. Can you kind of tell us what that mindset was like? What brain space you were in that made you get to that point and create kind of a tough atmosphere for the band?
It was mostly just the attention of just like it's like the consistency. It's hard. That's a hard one. I'm going to do the best I can to kind of dive deep with that. But it's like, for me, it was like, it went to my head because it was like just a lot of constant communications. So I feel like a lot of people wanting just for you to respond to them, or they were really happy. It was just like, it was not too easy, but it's like it was just this crazy thing of like, oh, here people are, and they're here for this music that we wrote and to see us and to hang. And a lot of that's true, but then I think it was, okay, here we go. It was like, it was easy to start building a narrative that maybe wasn't the complete picture of what was happening. And then for me, I think obviously the women aspect, like, you know, just like the flirtatiousness with being able to, like, have the confidence to talk to women. But it's like only though in that moment of time, because like anywhere else in life you'd get, the rules are back to how life is. But, that was like a new thing. And so I just think, yeah, like I didn't know how to handle it at 23. And, oh, and it was weird. Okay. And the other weird thing, or I don't know what, like, I was at that point, I didn't do any drinking or any sort of substances. I was clean. So it was like just weird, just like very focused on trying to get on the biggest tour and be a big band. And that's what I bought into. So that's what went to my head. And I started kind of believing that. And so that aspect of it was why I had to, well, then after, if we're going in chronological order, after Waking Ashland, We Shot the Moon, I like hadn't fully, let's just like sum up, We Shot the Moon is like some of the best years of my life, but I hadn't gotten out the touring in me. So I just needed to go make like 3 more years of laps around the country and parts of the world. But it was a diminishing of returns in the terms of response. And so that, We Shot the Moon kind of represented that whole era to me. And so I really had to, take a step back. And the one thing for me, I thought it would be easier to reconnect with life. Like I got married, and, I thought I was going to be able to move forward to the next chapter, in which I did in many respects, but the years of the 2004 to 2011 era, that was like always very deep in me. And I ended up I just buried it. And so eventually I had to actually do therapy and talk out those years. And I recommend that to actually anyone who, for any walk of life that you think you've, move forward, but if it's kind of lurking, it's better to talk about it and see what's lurking than to just kind of move forward, is what I found, especially with art and just, such abrupt lifestyles. Okay. There were lots of people now. It's as an aging artist, I always call it the aging artist, especially when you were younger and had kind of a lot of, attention around you. It's like, it messes with your head, or it's like, you need to definitely talk to someone about that. And so I was able, that's why.
Any therapists that you recommend to talk about that other than Dan Koch?
I didn't even until now make that connection. I know Dan Koch said he was open for other, some posts on Instagram, like open for out of state clients. So
wow, he's really trying to roll in the dough again.
Yeah.
I think he's just desperate.
Oh man,
he should. Sherwood needs to get back together.
Oh my God, they do, like, just
they do.
They were one of my, I'm really close with them, but they were actually one of my favorite bands. Like when Pure Volume happened, we were always competing with them in Daphne Loves Derby to try to be on the top list, only to find later that Daphne Loves Derby were rigging computers together in their colleges or high schools computer lab, playing their songs,
that's brilliant.
It's super brilliant. I'm just sad I didn't think of that.
Yeah, man.
They're fun.
That's what we gotta do
I
next
know
time.
Jason. I still know Jason Call. Jason's rad.
We should just listen to our podcast, like have him on repeat while we're like sleeping
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
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 I know Spotify like does something where if it's like just constantly on repeat, it just like stops like giving you revenue for it or whatever. But I wonder if like, I doubt Apple Podcast does that.
I doubt it too. Yeah, we got to make it happen.
There we go. So just listen to the BlackSheep Podcast while you're sleeping, because you probably aren't listening anyway. So.
Oh no, that's the worst plug ever. No, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna be listening. It was fun just in my sample. I'm like, oh, I'm a fan now.
Oh, cool.
It brings me right back. It's like I see why I'm on your guys' podcast. It was funny. Julie this morning, I was telling her about it, and she's like, that seems very niche, and I'm like, it is. It's a very niche thing you're doing. That's very cool.
Our downloads are also very niche.
It's a marathon, and it's not a sprint. It's just a marathon.
That's right. That's how we're viewing it.
Yeah.
I think if you do anything for 10 years, you'll be successful.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm good for like 50 listeners, so there you go.
There we go. There we go. You're gonna be 80% of our listenership then.
All right.
Okay.
So to close the chapter on Waking Ashland, before we talk a little bit more about kind of current music and everything, when can we get The Well on Spotify and also Telescopes? Telescopes was one of my favorite like EPs ever, especially when I was growing up. And other than like I think like some spotty YouTube videos, there's like really no way to listen to either one of those.
Yeah, we need to do that. I know we could probably just rip a CD and put it up now, right? I think it went through some. Yeah, you're asking me.
The rights do you own the rights to them now, or what's the deal there?
I haven't even checked in on that in like a decade. It was immortal, but then they went under, and there's all these publishing deals because it was up for a while, but then it would always. I think we'd get in trouble or something. But I can't see that anyone would really care if I just put it. I think that's what Dan did with where Sherwood did with their first EP. No, but they had the rights to that. I'm not sure. I forget.
Just throw it up there.
Just throw it up. No, yeah. I'll work on that, Mason.
Yeah, because I've been waiting. I'm like, I'd love to listen to The Well, especially Telescopes. I'm telling you, Telescopes was so freaking good, and I feel like nobody like gives enough love to it especially as an EP.
Appreciate that. Flowers on the Wall. I like Reseda jams.
Under the Gun.
The
little rock jam.
Okay, here's some little fun Waking Ashland trivia. Nate Harold played on that EP, and then he and Ryan ended up filling in then for Fun.
Oh wow.
Yeah. That was, a lot of people don't know that story, but it was crazy for me to see. It was really cool. Like they went on to do some crazy stuff.
So you're like 1 degree of separation from Fun.
It's 1 degree. Yeah. So
that's insane.
Yeah. So that's
and you still have a better voice than Jack Antonoff.
Oh no, I can't claim that.
No, you do. It's an easy one for me.
Okay. Thank you.
Cullen, was it Mute Math? Oh, also another kind of piano rock.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Mute Math that like Fun opened for them for a little while, and then like they blew up, and it was like all of a sudden they had to become the headliner? What was it? Mute Math?
Fun was opening for Mute Math, and then Mute Math got passed up by Fun.
By Fun when we were young, bro.
And it was a quick thing too.
Well, I remember when when May played with why did I just forget their name? Not Me Without You. The band we just mentioned. Who played with Fun?
Oh, Mute Math?
Mute Math. I remember May opening for Mute Math. Or no, Mute Math opening for May, and then kind of way. I remember a buddy, actually, my friend Matt O'Neill called me, and he's like, what's this Mute Math? He's like, what? what? His mind was just blown. And then that started being the common thing. People were just like, who are these people? Their music holds up. They're really good.
Well,
Really
when you
good.
have someone like Darren King
Yeah.
drumming for you,
Yeah.
it's hard
Also,
I
have
not
to
to
say,
hold up.
Game over.
Shameless plug here for our own podcast. That is still to this day one of my all-time favorite episodes we've ever done. Absolutely insane. So if you get a chance, go back and listen to that one, because that one's nuts.
I'm gonna start there.
I got their self-titled EP or self-titled album on vinyl a couple months ago, and they had released it on vinyl like, I don't know, like 2016, 2017 or something, and then Paul found like a box of like a few hundred of them in his house or something, and was like, well, I'm just gonna like release these too, I guess. And so there had already been a ton out, and so like he announced, hey, we're gonna announce it or whatever, it's gonna go on sale. I was like one of the first people like ready to like jump on it, because it's like a pretty limited amount. And so I get or like I go through the website, and the website like breaks. And I had my credit card information. I had clicked submit or whatever. Like everything was in, and I clicked like submit, where you like, if you click that, you can't go back. I clicked that, and it just gave you like this, like just spinning forever and ever. And then
Pinwheel of death.
yeah, exactly. And so that happens, and I like look through the Instagram comments, because that's where it was posted, and everybody else is getting the same thing. I'm like, oh my God, the website broke down. Like there was so much traffic. And so I'm thinking I didn't get this album. And by that point it said that it had sold out. Like when you like clicked refresh, whatever, it said sold out. And then like an hour, so I'm like looking, I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, is there like even a chance for me to get like a used one or whatever? The used ones are like the unsealed used ones were going for $500 online.
That's
nuts.
So I was like, and then an
Quite a
hour
markup.
later, I got an email that said like my order had been confirmed. So I was like, oh shit, and so who knows, like with like there being like there's some that were added to the market, like how much it brings down the price or whatever for them. But like,
yeah.
I bet it's still like not that much. Like I bet it's still like probably like a $300+ album.
More than likely.
That you have.
That I have. It's probably my most expensive one sitting on my shelf right now. I don't have a huge vinyl collection, but it's probably
you would never sell that.
No, but it's nice to know it's like the most valuable one I've got on my shelf right now.
Yeah, like you could buy, if you wanted to sell it, you could buy like another microphone if you want it. But your mic sounds good.
Yeah,
that's some 7B, huh?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to bet Mason will sell it. He'll have some sort of legal somewhere in his future, I'm sure.
You'll like put the blame on me for putting the well online, and somebody's gonna like be on your ass about that, and you're gonna be like, well, this Mason guy told me, and I'm gonna have to sell my freaking Mute Math vinyl because to pay dividends.
And here's the audio evidence, BlackSheep Podcast.
Here's a question for you, like, or maybe this is a good little put a bow on what the Waking Ashland era. Where did you guys see us going? We kind of.
Oh, I was
feel as a
literally
band
just
had a
thinking of this when you were talking. So, like, obviously, like, hindsight's 2020. But I do think you guys were, like, kind of in this, like, prime. So, obviously, like, probably, like, what, 2002, 2003 to, like, maybe 2007, 2008 were, like, those, like, piano, pop, rock kind of years where a lot of that music was really big. And then that sort of obviously faded, but that would have been around the time where you guys were probably going to finish up like, well, like had you done like a whole tour cycle with Well and everything, probably would have been around the time that sound was starting to like fade out a little bit. But then right after that, 2009, a lot of that indie pop stuff started coming out, like, Phoenix. And then obviously a lot of like the indie folk stuff started coming out. And obviously you explored that a little bit in some of your solo stuff around like community group. And so I think had you like gone in that trajectory of maybe exploring a little bit of that indie pop, indie folk stuff, even under like the name of Waking Ashland, I think that could have like really still like kept you guys going, have that attention still. And yeah, I think you guys were like still set up really well where you're a good enough songwriter where you could have made that kind of music and maybe moved a little away from the piano stuff, but still have it be a part of who you all are, and still make that a unique feature, but like maybe not as prevalent. But yeah, go into that indie pop kind of stuff, and the indie folk stuff. I think like you guys could have still done it really, really well under the name Waking Ashland. But anyway, that like
Because
hindsight's 2020, but like that's where I could have seen you guys go, especially if you were kind of paying attention to like what do people care about and like what can we offer
yeah,
to
how
what
can we
people are
grow
caring
with
about right
our
now.
yeah? What 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 do you think, Colin?
Yeah,
Same.
I would say either what Mason said, or you go like full pop. I don't want to say sell out, but like maybe even sell out, and then sooner or later play the Super Bowl with Rihanna, right?
That's a whole true reality. Yeah, yeah, that would have been cool. I like that
Wait,
one.
did Fun do that?
No, Coldplay did.
Oh, okay.
Crazy. The direction I remember, like I wanted to go more pop punk direction, like 'cause getting back,
Ah,
coming full circle to what we were talking about,
like Reliant K style almost, right?
yeah, or like I remember like you know loved Acceptance, like thought
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
just kind of how they were, where they were kind of going. I felt that angle would, that's where I remember kind of leaving off for wanting to go, or even just more punk. I was really into punk, but um, I like that we actually, it holds up well that we tried to do something different. At the time, I'm like, why
yeah,
wouldn't, actually, to be fully transparent, my mind was like more of like, yeah, why can't we just do another composure, like more, let's just like go that, more of that. And the fact that we did kind of to me it was pretty 180, the well, it's cool, like, I think we paid the price for it. But in terms of no one really, we kind of were done after that, but it was cool. But it's fun now though, there's been so much time now, I can confidently say, like, I think about pop punk a lot and still toy with the idea, like on downtime, of like, oh, that would be really fun to do it. Like it doesn't even have to be with a Waking Ashland, just write a body of work that's like pop punk would be cool. And I know a lot of bands,
yeah.
I know that's been going on, but I'm like, oh, I got to get my swing in on that for sure.
You know what's interesting
I think that
is
would have been neat.
a lot of trends like kind of come back maybe every like 25, 30 years or
Yep.
whatever. And so we're getting close to that trend of that piano rock, piano pop driven music being in that like 20, 25, 30 year kind of trend, or from the time that it originally came up. And so we're not that far away from that, those years potentially coming up again. And it's interesting, we just like haven't seen it yet. Like, um a lot of like new metal stuff is coming back. I don't know if like, I don't know how much into that you were even then, but like a lot of the metal stuff that Cullen and I listen to, you're starting to see a lot of those bands like incorporate like new metal sounds. It's like, all right, well, I guess new metal's back again. And so like you see some of these music trends kind of reemerge, and I'm like, when are we going to get like another Vanessa Carlton, or when are we going to get that like very piano driven rock music again? And I just haven't seen it yet, but it's got to be like a thing that's
It's
going to
got to be
happen again,
coming.
right?
Yeah, someone's going to do it, like really
Ye-
cool, or their own take. That's what's always fun. Like the trends come
Yeah,
back, and then it's just there's a slight nuance to it. Well, speaking like it's funny, like you said, that the trends of music. Like I've been recording some. I recorded a band like a year ago, an all girl young punk band called Doll Riot, and it was so.
great name.
Oh, they're great. It was super fun because I'm like, wow, like I totally understand this genre. It had been so long since I had heard it, but what happened is, their parents are kind of my age and had had kids, and then they like grew up listening to like Green Day and Blank and all that stuff, and so it was like really cool to work on music that was like second nature to me. It was the first time that had happened because I work on anything. I mean, I'm all whatever comes through the door. I'll work on pretty much. So that's been from opera to in like a week.
Even Dan Cook shit.
Well, yeah, Dan's what sent me down. Even that guy Dan. No, Dan got me kind of involved in like 2012 as I was finishing up community group. I saw he was kind of doing the mixing thing, or already kind of on being self-sustaining with doing audio, and I'm like, whoa, I need to do that. And then he was kind of helped me, he really helped me, show me the ropes of what I needed to do to kind of learn the craft. So
You don't have to paint him in a good light,
he has good taste in scotch, apparently.
Yes, he does.
That might be the one good thing he's got going for him. The thing I love about Dan, every time I hang out with him, whether it's in person or virtual, is Dan knows that the only way that I'm going to show him that I like love and care about him is that I'm going to talk shit about him. So, and Dan's like one of those people where he like receives that as love. A lot of people are like, they might be like put off by that initially or whatever. Dan truly receives that as love, at least from me. And I really like that about Dan.
Yeah. Nah, I understand.
He's a good shit giver too. Like if he thinks of a good thing, he'll come back with you and he'll throw you under the bus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he usually catches me with all the zingers, and I'm not very good at responding to him.
He's good.
Did he tell you when you had him on your podcast?
Oh yeah, we've had him a few
times.
Number
of times.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to check into one of those on his most recent. But did he tell you ever about the China trips that we did with We Shot the Moon? Did that ever come out?
No, but I now that I'm like thinking of this, I do remember you guys had like some kind of like market in China.
Yeah. This weird thing happened, like our version of that South African movie that came out. Remember about the guy who had the like fan base that he didn't know about? Well, like with China, one of our EP, our full length Fear and Love just got on some sort of streaming platform and blew up on the indie circuit over there. But this like 10 years later. So it's like, like super weird. Like, and so like, you're done with that part of your life, like totally done. This when I was living up in kind of in Sacramento area when Julie was going to veterinary school. So all of a sudden out of nowhere, we get a label from China being like, we want to bring you over. There's an audience, let's do this. And so it was really fun. Like, and Dan, this is why I'm bringing this up. Dan was a part of that trip, and Dan, it was a good, like Dan just tour guide Dan. Like it was just it was a Dan show. Like we just go, he knew all the, like, he just played, it was funny. It was like, we could have had some sort of fun reality bit that would probably
Did they
be cringy,
think he was like
fun.
Sasquatch or something? Because like he's so much taller than the average Chinese person.
They loved him. They loved him so much. Like he was a hit.
I can imagine.
He was a hit. Yeah. But
you know what's funny? There's another like similar piano rock band that also had, it wasn't 10 years later, but do you remember Until June?
Oh,
do you know that band name?
No, I remember Making April, but not the June one, I don't think.
Okay, there was a band called Until June, and let me see what they were. They were like, they were signed to Tooth and Nail at some point, it looks like, and they were signed to Flickr. Do you remember Flickr at all?
Oh yeah.
So they had a song. Let me see if I can find it. They had a song that like became huge in like an Eastern European country, like Croatia or something.
Nice.
I love that.
I'll see if I can find it. But they had randomly had like this song just get really, really big in some Eastern European country. But they were around like the same time.
It happens, yeah. It's so, I mean, one of the crazier things to have happened, like just really interesting, and it was really fun. And it was cool because it was like more of a vacation kind of vibes, because it's like, oh, this is random. Here we are playing these songs.
It went number 1 in Greece in June of 2008, and then number 4 in Norway. So not Eastern Europe, but like still like this is like a little band that was on Flickr Records.
Yeah. I always wonder how those things work. Like just, you get, I guess you have the taste makers of that. They just, someone thought it was cool or something. I don't get it.
It's strange. That's a cool phenomenon that needs to be studied more.
Anyway, again, we've been for 30 minutes trying to put a bow on Waking Ashland. But yeah, I'd love to hear just kind of where you're at now with with you know, just with music. Obviously you've done like quite a few like solo stuff. You're doing production stuff, but yeah, I'd love to hear just kind of where you're at now with music. Like, are you writing your own stuff? Are you just producing? Like, where are you at?
Well, let's see. It's like the many hats. So I'm still doing it full time, which means it's a lot of, I'll mix, people send me their sessions. I do a lot of mixing primarily. And then so in COVID, I built a studio, you know, converted the whole downstairs of my house to a studio. And I told the acoustician who was helping me do it that I wanted to record band. I wanted to have a space that bands could come over and make records, and that I'd be doing a lot of mixing. So the studio's kind of focused around that. And just for, you know, it's cool to, and it's a lot of local stuff I find myself doing. Mostly is there's just a very vibrant San Diego music scene that keeps me busy. And then I've always, with producing, it's something more and more I'm getting into, but producing I've found is can be really tricky. It almost sometimes turns out to be, especially when you're playing on someone's record or really diving in, it can be really time intensive. So I've kind of, I love producing, but I've realized it's got to be, as a producer, you got to see what the path of where they're going. So that's been kind of lately what I've been doing. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, and as far as new music, I'm trying to slowly, it's like a muscle that I want to exercise, but then it's like another day passes, and with songwriting, for me at least, you really just gotta do it every day. Like to really get to the good stuff. And I think that's a muscle that I hope, or I really need to get going on that. I actually am going out to Nashville in a couple of weeks to do some writing with various friends and different groups of circles out there.
We've heard your neighbor John Foreman tries to write a song every single day.
Yeah, I believe it. That guy, actually, that Switch was a huge inspiration. Probably the reason why I started playing music in a band, because I grew up in the same town as them.
Do you hang out with Tyson Motzenberger too? I think he's in the
no, but
sorry, I know he's in the same town as you.
Yeah, I don't see. I've seen him a few times, but I haven't really hung out with him that much.
Okay,
but he's a good guy. I know him and Dan are tight.
Yeah.
But mostly, yeah, it's weird. It's trying to. I find the hardest part for me is just focusing on, like, what do I want to focus on for these next 2 weeks, because the work comes a lot in waves. That's been an interesting thing. It is a feast or famine kind of industry, or so I'm trying to think. This is a recent thing that I might get into, is I've been thinking about adding to the belt of mastering, mixing, producer, piano tuning. So that could be the final frontier.
Is that like a fairly stable job?
Yeah, it'd be, and it's funny you say that. It'd be like, yes, the equivalent of getting a real job, I guess. And it'd be kind of funny coming full circle for me, because growing up playing the piano and then now tuning it. Finally, it kind of makes total sense, and I've been giving that some serious thought.
I hear it's pretty lucrative.
Yeah, I think you can. Like, I paid my piano tuner that tuned my piano for a studio session $250. So if nothing else, I guess I could save.
I know
I'm gonna be doing.
I know around my area, there's some that. There's so few piano tuners because it's kind of a specialized business. I know some people that it takes $1,000 to get their piano tuned.
Is that why they call it a grand piano?
It's a grand. It's $1,000 for a grand piano. Yeah, that's actually their motto. It's their business model as well. A grand for a grand.
That would be a great like one a little radio jingle or whatever.
I've found though with work if I want to work, like going out and actually playing shows, the last few projects I've done have been when I've met like different artists playing the show. We'll get talking and be like, oh, I actually have a studio, and then they'll come out and work with me. So that may, as I start kind of playing live shows again more frequently, that I could see that being kind of and that's fun because it's a different vibe when someone knows. I've noticed when someone's kind of coming from like, oh, that guy in that band, it's almost like an initial trust, but then more times than not, when I'm working with artists, you're always starting again, which can be really that's been hard for me actually. It's really humbling, but it's also kind of cool if you think about it too. But it can be challenging to try to prove yourself, like, and chasing sounds for people.
For sure.
But that's what I signed up for. It's a lot, I love doing it.
That's cool, man. I dig that. Hey, it is time for your top 5 most influential artists. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right. You can start wherever you want. It does not have to be in order. Go ahead.
All right. We'll say Jimmy Eat World.
Yeah.
Switchfoot.
Which Jimmy Eat World record is it that really does it for you?
Ooh, that's hard, but I got to. If we're going with nostalgia, I have to say Clarity.
Good.
Yeah. I love that record. And then let's see,
that
Switchfoot,
probably is the
Beautiful.
most common Jimmy Eat World one that comes up, I think, right, Cullen? That or maybe Futures, maybe?
Yeah. Which, by the way, 20 years old this year. Futures.
Future. That's a hard one because I love Bleed American, Futures, and Clarity all equally, differently. Let's see, Switchfoot, Beautiful Letdown for them.
For sure.
And Legend of Chen, actually, because that would have been the record that
no one ever says that. I'm so glad you said that. That's a great record.
Concrete Girl, fantastic.
Girl, yeah.
Chemical A.
Yeah.
Is it?
Which one has Company Car? Which record is that?
Oh, that was their red one, which is New Way to Be Human.
New Way to Be Human. That's it. Yeah. That one I always found to be nice and tongue in cheek. That's good.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Okay, and then let's go for some class. I like who's been like, who can I get some cred with? Why am I of course blanking? Am I gonna have to really pull out my Spotify?
Do it to it, man.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything more classy than Jimmy Eat World and Switchfoot though, so it feels like you're actually about to
Well, the funny thing is I'm a latecomer to lots, growing up in I call it the Warped Tour era. My music pedigree back then started like that's what it was, and it's discovering older artists has been funny. I didn't listen to a lot of like older artists. Okay, here we go. The Black Keys. I gotta actually say Black Keys.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, they're not old, but they're great.
Which record of theirs is it that is it for you?
Brothers.
Oh, okay, yeah, for sure. That makes sense.
That's the one that kind of made them pop off, right?
Yeah, it's their, I guess, commercial one, but is that I think that's the one that Modest Mouse, not Modest Mouse. They had a producer that I like that did it.
Yeah, no, I know. It's the guy from something Bells.
Yeah, the guy who did Broken Bells.
Yeah, I can't remember his name all of a sudden.
Yeah,
that's a great record. Lots of good tunes on that. Really good at differentiating each song, whereas their albums before kind of had a lot of sameness. But I'm a Thick Freaking Sky all the way along.
Let's. What was that? 3?
That's 3.
I grew up really liking Guster. I don't know. They just popped into my, and I'll like all of the Guster records. Like just a cool. I think I liked Guster because the first time I saw them, like open up for who was it? Semisonic way back in the day. And it was like just them with congos and like doing this crazy thing, but it still sounded huge. And I remember just being like, whoa, like how did you guys do that? And the singer, I went up to him, like 15-year-old Jonathan, and I was like, how did you make the acoustic guitar sound so big? And he's like, a lot of EQ. Which I totally later on understood kind of what he was saying. Just they were pumping the right the low, but they were doing some good EQ.
That's a great
Joe Jackson. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. Older art, 70s artist.
Shoeless Joe?
Newspaper Joe, Shoeless Joe. Sunday Paper Joe.
Where I'm from, if you say Shoeless Joe Jackson, everyone knows what you're talking about because they've all seen Field of Dreams.
Ooh, I missed that reference.
It's a Midwest movie thing. If you're from the Midwest, you've seen that movie 10 times at least. So, Shoeless Joe Jackson.
It's like a baseball movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kevin Costner, feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like a good feel good movie. I'm trying. Okay, I got one more. Let's see. I feel I should just know this. Something that's really influenced me. There's just like only 4.
You only listen to 4 artists.
Okay. I'm going to actually say I'm going to go for my 5th, Max Martin. I'm going to go for a producer.
Okay.
I'm gonna insert an artist in his own right.
Is there one album in particular?
I mean, he's just not really like all the stuff. It's super pop. So I think, he's like he's done all, Taylor Swift, Katy Perry, The Weeknd, his career, Ace of Base, like way back. So it's like, it's just interesting. I like listening to his work and following kind of like a sonic thread through it. And it's like the pop side of me, because I've always, I was embarrassed by it, but not anymore. I just love pop a lot. I don't make pop music though anymore. It's weird. I still love it, but I actually find myself not drawn to making quote unquote like heavy produced pop, but I really like listening to it.
Sure.
Oh, it looks like. One of the things I think is really interesting,
so.
especially like the world that we're in, is like being influenced by pop, but like not in a way where you're actually making pop music. Like I always think, think of like a band like Under Oath, right? Like they were not making, obviously, especially with They're Only Chasing Safety, they were not making pop music, but they clearly, like the song structures, the way that they like did their screaming and everything was very obviously influenced by some sort of pop element. And so exactly. I love when you start hearing the sort of pop influence in music that is not pop at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're getting at the music production, and it's just cool. It's cool how people can that's where like genre bending starts happening.
Yeah, for sure.
Genre bending.
You gotta be careful what you say.
I usually do that with gender, but
Oh, genre, sorry. This time. Hey. Fun.
Well, let's put a bow on that one too.
I'm sure I will.
What do you want to plug, Jonathan? Obviously, like it sounds like you're still making some of your own music. There's actually a few shows coming up if you're a West Coast person. What do you want to plug?
Okay, so for the shows, I got some coming up, playing a run with Slow Coming Day in Latoshawa. We're doing like are those band songs, but it's under our names, but kind of like acoustic versions of that. So it's a West Coast run from we're doing Oceanside on April 24th, Oceanside on the 25th, Costa Mesa on the 26th of April, and San Luis Obispo the following day, the 27th of April. Awesome. And then Bakersfield with oh my gosh, I'm the worst. Another fun tooth and nail alumni. There it came to me. I knew if I just,
Just
mumbled.
start to spit it out a little bit.
You just said the quiet part out loud. You're a part of the Illuminati, dude. We get it.
I'm the worst at podcasts. You can tell I'm doing them. I'm sure you guys can tell I'm doing them every day. I just been really busy on the podcast circuit.
That's right.
You're doing great, man. You're doing great.
I appreciate it. But yeah, so those shows, it'd be cool to come out. And then if just anyone, I love working with creative, passionate artists who, want to, I love chasing after, sounds of people and making records. So that's what I do a lot now. So people can reach out to me on Instagram. It's just Jonathan Jones. And then I do have an album, Euphoria, solo album that came out last summer that you can find on all your streaming platforms.
Oh, yeah.
And you can expect more, like I'm just starting the next cycle, and it's fun because I had to get the last one out of my system. There's just like, we didn't really talk about Euphoria, which is fine, but it was the first album I'd ever done with the knowledge of mixing and producing. That's what I've been doing over the last 12 years.
Yeah.
And so it's fun. And I think I'd been waiting. There's many reasons I hadn't really done an official album, but it was fun because I was able to draw on all of those different aspects now, kind of that language, and make a record. And so I knew I needed to do one to like learn a lot, and I did. And so now starting the new cycle, the process, it's exciting. So people can expect, a new record in 10 years.
Heck yeah.
Just maybe we'll call it a year.
Another run of shows in 20 years.
Yeah. Perfect.
Love it. Jonathan, anything else you'd like to plug?
No, that's all I got. Except, well, I wasn't going to say anything, but since you're asking me, I was on the list for the Neuralink implant. I don't know
like the Elon Musk thing?
Really?
Yes. So it was a lottery system, and it was just a joke. Julie's like, that would be funny. Like, maybe this will help with your attitude. Get the chip, and
fix my husband, please, Elon.
Yeah. And so, they couple months ago, they called us, they sent us the email, and we went down kind of that path.
Wow.
And it's been yeah. Mm-hmm.
What? So isn't it like something where you can think a thought and then your phone will do a thing, or it's just like control, like you could be like, I want to go to purevolume.com right now, and then your phone will just pull it up.
Yeah, like it pulled up your guys' link. I'm thinking about the BlackSheep Podcast.
Nice.
And, yeah.
Is it intrusive though? Like when you think of something, like is it like my ADD brain would be like throwing shit at my head all the time, and I would just be like, it'd be like all the tabs on my computer.
So many tabs.
Yeah, it's been the learning the shorthand of it has been hard because I'll just all of a sudden get overwhelmed. But being able to spell out words and emails, just think of them, has been.
Can you imagine what your Instagram ads would be if you like start having depression with that thing?
Yeah, I haven't experienced that yet, but I'll let you know.
Please let us know as soon as you do.
Yeah. Like right now I'm thinking about Lucky Charms, and there it is, Lucky Charms.
Jeez.
They're magically delicious.
Those are the ones.
You know what I think I would do? And maybe this is something you could do too. Since you want to go into like piano tuning and stuff like that, you can literally just have a tuner inside your head, because Neuralink will like provide like the tuning system, and like, how like you have like the, your like a tuner for a guitar or whatever. It just like has like the bar that goes back and forth, and you just have to get it right on that note or whatever, or on that the key. I don't know music, I'm sorry. And
440.
All you'd have to do is just like be like, all right, I can hear it in my head. What's perfect tuning? I tune it up. There you go. Give me my $200. See you later.
Well, yeah. Currently, it's funny I can think of a sine wave, and I hear a sine wave, so that it's a pure tone that you can just
Oh
then
my
tune.
gosh.
You could technically do that.
That's incredible.
So I wasn't going to mention anything, but it's been quite an adjustment, and there is a firmware update apparently coming up on the message boards. People have been kind of murmuring about that. I'm a little nervous about, so we'll see how that goes.
Is this the part that you turn into a Tesla?
Yeah, I hope so. It's like a transformer thing.
You become a ride sharing service.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to just the new update in your life when it comes to Neuralink, because yeah, what a special moment in human history, and you get to be a part of it. That's pretty cool. So
Human 2.0.
Heck yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll have to check back in like a year.
Andrew Schwab from Project 86 wrote a whole album basically criticizing exactly what you're doing. So
that's exactly right.
Yeah, it's fun. So maybe you guys could write an album together where you're just like basically in a pissing match with each other.
That'd be cool. I mean, I listened to his band in high school. They made me angry. So
yeah, man. You should listen to it now. It'll make you even angrier. It's great.
He's definitely angry about Neuralink.
It's true.
Sounds like we have a lot in common.
Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for chatting about Waking Ashland again. It's a band that I remember listening to almost 20 years ago and falling in love with your music. And so it's just really cool to connect with you and chat more about it and just kind of hear a little bit more about the history and what you're up to now. But yeah, thanks so much for chatting more about it.
Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure being on the podcast. Really fun. I wish we would have done this 10 years ago. It probably would have saved me doing therapy. So